With the NHL season being well into the second half at this point, we now have a large sample size of how players have performed so far. While some have exceeded expectations, others have struggled immensely this campaign. In this video, we'll be going over several players that are currently on track to have their worst season of their careers, while taking a look at stats, of course. And with that, here are 7 NHL players who are on track to have their worst season yet. After having a productive season last campaign, Kasperi Kapanen was expected to be one of the top point getters for Pittsburgh coming in. With an injured Evgeny Malkin for the start of the season, Kapanen was oftentimes on a line with Jeff Carter, and therefore many believed once Gino was healthy, Kapanen would return to form. Unfortunately, however, Malkin's return didn't jumpstart redemption for his line mates, as Kapanen went an entire month without scoring a single point. Also, another startling stat from Kapanen is his shooting percentage, which is currently his lowest in his career, with an 8.9. With 26 points and 56 games played, comparatively, the forward eclipsed the 30-point mark in 40 games last season, which goes to show that he's been a shell of his former self thus far for Pittsburgh. For Philadelphia, as a team, things are a far cry from how they were expected to go. With another disappointing season on the horizon for the club, within are a slew of players that haven't lived up to expectations individually either. Riemsdyk has been among them, and is currently on track to have his worst season imaginable. The previous 36-goal scorer has recorded 21 points in 55 games thus far on the season. Even if he does come close to how he produced offensively in his rookie year, the minutes on average that he's getting still will likely be more than what he received in his debut season. Currently on the third line for the Flyers, Riemsdyk is on a struggling team, yes, but unlike Cam Atkinson, for example, who already has notched 20 goals, Riemsdyk hasn't been able to produce at the level he did for around a decade. Hopefully for the forward, he'll be able to find his game, if not late in the season next campaign. After missing most of last season due to a core muscle surgery, Alexander Radulov made his return to play for the start of the 2021-2022 campaign. But unfortunately, Radulov hasn't been able to produce at the level that he once was for the Stars since. With just 3 goals so far in 49 games played, the previous 29 goal scorer has been struggling to tickle the twine. However, that's not to say that he hasn't been trying. After 72 shot attempts for Radulov, so far, Radulov is sporting a 4.2 shooting percentage, which is less than 1/4 of his percentage his rookie year, and his worst yet. Progressively as well, his ice time has decreased, which suggests that head coach Rick Bowness has been trying to spark something by giving him different line mates. Circling back to the starter in Seattle, here we have talked about Grubauer a good time or two this season due to his lackluster play. And yes, unfortunately for Grubauer and Chris Driedger, they're on a bottom-feeding team that's struggling in all areas. But it's always important to remember that goaltending is the most important position for a reason. Therefore, if you don't have it at an elite level, it's impossible to mask other issues. I think a good example of this would be the hole Vancouver had last season without Jacob Markstrom. After he left, the Canucks' issues on the back end especially became more noticeable. Anyways, Grubauer has went this season from being in the Vezina conversation to having the 4th worst save percentage amongst his peers that have played at least 15 games with a .888. His goals against average is also the 13th worst with a 3.17. Reasoning for having Grubauer here is the fact that his numbers are a huge contrast from his stats last season. His save percentage has never been below a .900 for a season, even during his time in Washington at the start of his career. This situation, you could say, is similar to Sergei Bobrovsky's adjustment period after he made his way down south from Columbus. The 2-time Vezina winner signs a sizable contract to play for a new team and has a rough year. If Grubauer's story plays out like Bob's, however, he'll be bouncing back in no time. After taking a season off due to chronic inflammatory response syndrome, Jonathan Toews was able to return to the ice for the start of the 2021-2022 season. Just like Radulov's case, however, missing such a large chunk of games has affected his ability to produce offensively. The captain so far has recorded 20 points in 46 games played for the Hawks and has a shooting percentage of 5.2%. To put it into perspective just a little, that's half of what his 10.5 percentage was during the 2019-2020 campaign. Looking at it right now, comparatively speaking, Toews is on track to have his worst season yet by a landslide. Definitely not here trying to take digs at a guy who battled a health condition at all, just saying statistically that he has not been himself on ice. Wishing the 3-time Stanley Cup champ all the best moving forward, and hopefully he can bounce back next season. The NHL's Iron Man came into the season hopeful that he could be an important piece that propelled Philly into the postseason. However, after signing a modest one-year deal with the Flyers, Yandle began to show signs of regression on multiple levels. Looking at a statistical workup by the talented Jay Fresh, we can see that Yandle's struggles in his own end were largely masked by the Panthers' elite two-way game as a team. Knowing that Yandle has been worth it to teams previously due to his offensive contributions, the fact that he only has a single goal with 15 points in 55 games played makes his liabilities stick out that much more. According to StatMuse.com, Yandle is currently the league's worst player when it comes to the plus-minus statistic. Even more troubling is his giveaway-takeaway ratio. For every takeaway the defenseman has, he's given up the puck more than 5 times. At 35 years of age, Yandle has certainly accomplished something extraordinary in his career, but one can only wonder if he'll remain in Philly that much longer. Similarly to Alex Georgiev in NYC, Joonas Korpisalo has watched an up-and-comer with immense talent take the crease for his own. There's no question at this point in time that the crease belongs to Elvis Merzlikins in Columbus, who was given an extension instead of Korpisalo, which has left him with the mental strain that he's not the guy for CBJ moving forward. And unfortunately, his numbers support that. Currently sporting a 3.82 goals against average, Korpisalo is the worst league-wide for goalies who have played 15 games or more so far. Also, looking at his save percentage, he's only above Kevin Lankinen for the worst save percentage with a .885. For most of the hockey world, Korpisalo is considered to be expendable for Jarmo Kekalainen at this point and is likely playing his last season in a Jackets uniform. However, it's entirely possible that the netminder could find redemption elsewhere, especially if he's given a greater amount of responsibility in the crease like he once was.